Hey everyone, Matty Smith here. Welcome to another episode of Barely Even Here. Welcome back. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it so much. You guys are great, and you keep me doing this. Well, that and the fact that it feels really good. I like to do it. I look forward to it every week. I hope everyone had a terrific holiday. I hope you got to spend time with family and friends and people you love. If you didn't have anybody, I hope that you were able to make it special for yourself in some way. Sorry if I sound a little bit stuffy. I was just sitting out in the cold while my tire got patched. To be honest with you, I was concerned that I wouldn't have a good holiday. I was alone. My roommate is out in California. I don't have a significant other. But I did some things to make it special with my daughter on the days that I have her. And we had a lot of fun. Spent a lot of time with, they're basically my family now. I got to spend plenty of time with my family friends. If that makes sense to you. There's some of us either just don't have any family or we have family that live really, really far away. So what tends to happen is we form these really strong bonds with other people, and it just kind of goes into their family, and you almost feel like an adopted member of the family. And I have a few of those, and I appreciate them all so much because I do miss my family, as I'm sure people in my position do too. There's something about, I'll put it this way. I spent a lot of time on my own, right? I left home when I was like 16, 17. Like Marvin Gaye said, I came up hard. I've been through some stuff, and I feel like it kind of hardened me in a way. I had to learn lessons the tough way, but through that, I guess actually through that, I was able to form bonds with people over time, especially that were also going through a really hard time, which I found out through therapy that's called trauma bonding. Look into trauma bonding. That's a pretty crazy thing. It's actually how some people end up in relationships, be it friends or romantic relationships, and then realize that they're just not right for each other at all once things kind of even out or get better because they bonded through trauma. And it's like whenever things start to get fixed, they don't really, they realize that that's what they had in common, that they were sharing that. So a lot of times it might seem like somebody resents somebody because, they started getting in better shape or they got their life together. They started making more money. So it seems like they resent them when they leave, when honestly it's just because they were able to heal themselves and the other person wasn't. So maybe it is a little bit of resentment. And I do want to backtrack a little and say that I'm not saying that that's what trauma bonding is, that it's a bad thing. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that when you form bonds through very specific and impactful situations, it can be something that drives you forward. It could be something that holds you together forever. It's a very strong bond. All I meant by what I had just said was that sometimes when people trauma bond like that, when things start to get better, they realize that that's all they had and they move on. So the bonds that I formed with my friends, we are family. They're my ride or dies. I would do anything for them. So I started to make this point on an earlier episode, and I didn't get around to it. I cut myself off. I tend to do that. It's really annoying. But I had cut myself off and I started talking about addiction, and that just really got me rolling. So I stuck with that. But I'd like to come back to the point I wanted to make. When you start to get better, there is this really painful part of the process where you're feeling good, be it mentally or physically or emotionally. You start to feel better, and it's almost this sense of I can conquer anything, right? But then it comes with this dose of sadness, because you're able, when you're able to think clearly, you can look back, and it's very painful to look back and think about some of the things that you've done, some of the things that you've put people through, some of the things that you've put yourself through. I look back at people that I loved very much, friends, family members, and it's very difficult to have to come to grips with the fact that we drifted apart because it was my own fault. I let that happen. Whether I felt personally that they were making decisions in their own lives that I didn't want to be a part of, probably things that were none of my business that I should have just kept to myself. Other things came from being self-conscious, self-doubting, feeling like I'm not good enough, or things start to go really, really well for that person, and then I just kind of feel like a burden. You know, I'm not making as much money. I'm still struggling very hard financially, or I'm struggling very hard mentally, and things are just going so well for them that I kind of just feel like a burden or a bummer to be around. Especially because with depression, I feel like all I had was bad news all the time. People are sharing these great stories and things that they're going through and things they're finding out about themselves, and here I am bitching about my job, or bitching about not having any money, or just bitching about the world in general. And the way I used to look at it was, it's not me, it's the condition of the world. And I'm just stuck being a part of it. And it drove people away. Kind of two sides to the coin thing, because in a sense, it drove people away because, yeah, that makes you a bummer to be around, and people can't really feel happy for things that they are valid in feeling happy about, because there I am, oh, well, this and this about my life. Or I just would overthink it and think that that's what was happening. So I would just kind of take a step back, maybe stop answering text as often. So I would take a step back, maybe stop answering calls or text as often, until eventually the only time I see anything about them is if they post on social media, which I'm usually horrible at. I'm hardly ever on it until recently. And that's only because of the podcast. I really need to get it out there. So I look back on all of the different holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas, and also Yule and Halloween, just these different things, and I have always managed to be a part of it. My friends, or families, family friends, whatever you want to call it, always made me feel included, even when I was very alone, very sad, very angry at the world. I never felt left out. I feel like somehow every year, no matter how bad things look or how bad I feel, they're always there to bring me in and warm me up and make me feel good. And I can't tell you how grateful I am for that. And it's very painful to heal sometimes, to look back on things like that. There were times when I should have been sleeping under a bridge. I mean, I had a buddy named Kyle Jensky, who was more of a friend's friend to me. He was a really cool guy. He was a great guy. I consider him a friend, but at the time it was more like a friend's friend. And I was in a very rough spot. lost where I was living, and I really, really needed a place. I had lost my job, and he was actually on deployment, and his mom still took me in. He had found out about it through a mutual buddy, called his mom, told her I needed it. And it wasn't even just me. It was also another good friend of mine. He was in the same position and hit his mom up, and she took us both in. It was, I had a lot of experiences with situations like that where people just cared and went out of their way to make me feel cared. One of my best friends, Alan, who's also my roommate, his family's taken me in so much. They've done so much for me over the years. Shout out to Sharon. Shout out to Pops. Love you guys. I love that entire family. The Kriegers, the Shaws. That's all my buddy Dustin's family. They've always found a way to make me feel included and wanted during the holidays. And the old me would have looked at it like a charity case, and it really sometimes would actually make me feel more depressed when things like that would happen. But not anymore. Now I just feel warmth, and I feel joy, and I feel appreciation. And it's very important that you do whatever you can to pay that forward. And even if you're not just paying it forward, you need to be a good person. Or you're going to look back one day at a life full of regret. You're going to look back at a life full of unnecessary anger, missed opportunities, missed love, missed friendships, or destroyed love or friendships. And that's going to be the way that you die. You're going to die filled with regret. And that sounds like nothing, but it's not nothing. It's something. And it's something you should be afraid of. Stop burning bridges. Stop taking advantage of people. Stop just looking out for yourself. If that's the type of person you are, and you can acknowledge it, then fuck off. Go be a lone wolf. Fend for yourself. Don't become somebody else's problem. Don't add your problems to what they're already going through. If somebody takes you in or helps you out, you need to find any way that you can to repay them or let them know how much you appreciate it. Not by just saying it, just do what you can. It's little things. They'll know. They're good people, or they wouldn't have done what they do for you. You can tell them, of course, tell them how much you appreciate them. But whenever they need a hand, or even if they don't ask for it, if you can tell that they need a hand with anything, do it. Help them. I'm not saying money-wise. I'm not saying financially, unless you can. If you can financially, that always helps. Just find little ways to let them know how appreciated they are. And I went off and got all gushy. But since I'm here, I happen to notice something over the holidays. And I feel like in every single one of these episodes, I have talked about my breakup. So, I did a little thinking and some digging, and I think what it is because in therapy, I kind of avoid talking about it. I feel like there's more important things about my past and childhood that I really want to get worked out. But what's happening now is I can't help myself from bringing it up. I can't help myself from making little jokes from time to time. Somebody will put a song on, and it would be a song that she used to listen to a lot. And I just can't fight the urge to make a little joke. Like, oh, great, you put that on. Thanks a lot. And every single time, whoever it is like, what? And then I have to explain, oh, my girlfriend used to listen to that. And it's so cringe when I think about it. What I'm going to do in this episode, and don't worry, I'll make up for it, is I really would like to use my experience to help others out there that might be going through what I'm going through or may soon go through what I'm going through. Or I should say have gone through, because I'm a whole lot better now. I think there are things that I need to work out, and I can't even get an appointment until March. So this is going to be my way of purging. I want to purge about my breakup and relationship in hopes that it can help others, and so that we can move forward through this podcast without that having to be brought up every single time. Now, let me clarify. I'm not just going to go on talking about my relationship from start to finish. For the most part, I'm probably not even going to talk about specific details in my relationship. Mainly what I want to do is use my breakup and situation as a way to kind of help someone cope through theirs or avoid it entirely. The main thing that you need to focus on if you are still in that relationship, I don't care if it's a budding brand new relationship, if it's been a couple of months, if it's been years, or if it's about to end and you can feel it. You need to communicate. Good or bad, communicate. You hate the little noise that she makes when she's doing this or that. It drives you fucking nuts. There's a way to do it. You can't be a fucking jerk about it and make her feel self-conscious about it. You need to have a discussion and talk about it. You both hate doing the fucking dishes, right? So what happens is one of you seems to be doing the goddamn dishes all the time. All of the time. What happens is you hate doing it. You both hate it. So let's say you procrastinated doing it one time and it just built up until you were finally like, fine, fuck it, I'll do it. Well, if the other person sees you doing that, they're going to do it too. And then you're walking around the house pissed off because the dishes aren't done yet and it's her turn to do the dishes, or it's his turn to do the dishes. But you procrastinated and let that shit go for a week, 4 days, however long. It's got to be an even playing field here. You're gonna have to get better at remembering to do the dishes or take the trash out. And then if you are, let's say you're steady about it, and then it's your partner's turn to do them and they're just kind of letting it draw out, talk with them. Hey, I'm really not trying to be a dick, and this is really awkward for me to do, but it'd be cool if the dishes got done. I know you hate doing them. I fucking hate doing them. We're both pretty bad about letting them get like this, so maybe if we just decided to do them together, and we do them after we eat dinner, or at least the day after. We could do them together, and then we don't have to worry about it's my turn, it's his turn. Or work something out. Let's say you don't mind doing laundry, which means folding them and putting them away also. Let's say you just don't mind doing laundry, but you fucking hate doing the dishes. And your partner fucking hates doing laundry. Why don't you just talk about it? Instead of each of you doing something that you fucking hate even half the time, just say, look, I'll do the dishes if you'll do the laundry. And if you keep that up, neither of you has to do the thing that you hate to do. Don't just assume it. Talk about things. That was my big thing. What she would call shutting down, I would call processing. I get very quiet. I close down, but it's not to avoid anybody. It's because I need to work out what I'm going through. At the time, it was very unhealthy. I hadn't started I wasn't aware of my condition. So that just made it worse. So I can imagine I was a fucking pain in the ass to be around. It probably really sucked. I got very irritable. I was just so annoyed. Everything annoys me. People, things, the dog, You know, everything just getting on my fucking nerves, but it's my own fault because I'm just sitting in my head with this stuff. And it used to drive me crazy because she would tell me, I hate it when you shut down. And I'm like, well, I feel like that's unfair because I'm not shutting down. I'm trying to process the way I feel like I need to process. You're being unfair by telling me that I need to process in a way that you want me to process. So I don't think that's fair. When I think our communication had slipped so much, what she meant was it would help a lot if, and I know it's not healthy to try to read people's minds, but I'm just saying in retrospect, this is kind of what I think was the driving factor. But I think what she meant was the way that I processed. It wasn't because I processed how I wanted to process. It was that I wasn't doing it in a healthy way. So yeah, maybe I would get quiet, but that's not all it was. Yeah, I'm quiet right now, but anytime I have to do anything, I'm fucking pissed about it. For no reason. There's no reason, you know. I'm just trying to plug the new HDMI into the PlayStation, and I'm just had it. As soon as I can't get it on the first try or it slips out of my hands, I'm just a fucking dick. And I know I could be that way. So I shut down. That leaves her to basically feel alone in a house with me. I'm closed off. She doesn't, what is she going to talk to me about? She's going to bring something up and then I'm just going to talk about how much I can't stand that band. Or that show is fucking stupid. Why would anybody fucking watch that? You know, who wants to fucking be around that? It's not so much that I was being quiet, which is the way I took it when she says I hate it when you shut down. It wasn't me being quiet. It was everything that came with me trying to process that way. It's not good. What's wrong? Nothing. Just fucking life. I always get the shitty end of the stick. I always get the wet end of the stick. Of course that fucking happened. You know, I was real big on that. It's one thing to make a little joke like, yep, that's about right, which is something that I do a lot too. But it's another thing to be like, yep, of course that would fucking happen. Of course I would have a fucking flat tire because that's what happens to me. That's what happens to my life. I'm going to be fucking late for work. Of course that's going to happen. And then, you know, in my mind with depression, generalized anxiety disorder, I'm thinking the worst case scenario. I'm going to get fucking, they're going to fuck with my schedule. They're going to give me some shit, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to get fired or I'm going to get so pissed that I walk out. And it's just like, I start planning this terrible story in my head that no ounce of evidence has been provided for me to think that way. That's what's so wild about that condition is you just believe these worst case scenarios. So had I communicated more and been like, look, can I just get a little time for myself and really work this out? That probably would have been a whole hell of a lot better. And on the opposite end, she would hold things in until she just ran away. That's how the breakup happened. And that's not even the first. This isn't even the first time it's happened. This is like the fourth or fifth time that she's done it. But this time it's for real. Something happens and she just holds on to it. And she holds on to it and she holds on to it. That's called compartmentalizing. But she's able to, I don't want to say pretend, because, there's some times where I could tell something's on her mind, and then I ask her about it, she doesn't want to talk about it, and then it all just builds up, and then boom, I've had it, and she just fucking leaves, she grabs her shit. You know, we'd been living with each other for a while now, so it was a lot of shit this time, and she just leaves. That's horrible too. I mean, it's kind of ironic because she does what I thought she was talking about that I do. But it wasn't the shutting down part or being emotionally closed off, because she's a very affectionate person. So somehow, which is probably a trauma that she's got to deal with and something that she's learned. As a matter of fact, I know because, I mean, I'm sorry to say this, it's not good to talk shit about people's family, but compartmentalizing and blame shifting is a huge deal around those parts. I've witnessed it. One time I watched her apologize for something. It's like she forgot that she even didn't live there anymore. And someone in her house was just going off about this thing. And she's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'll try to get better about that. And I'm looking at her like, bitch, you don't live here. What the fuck are you apologizing for? Like, it's manipulative. To the point where she's apologizing for something that couldn't have possibly been her fault because she doesn't live there anymore. We were only there to visit. But it just came so naturally for that person to dump on her and shit on her that she apologized. Then I had to tell her later, like, you don't fucking live there. What are you apologizing for? So I have to give her some leeway on that. That's another thing. Had it been a regular form of communication at that point, they would have realized how silly that whole situation, like, oh shit, you don't live here anymore. That couldn't have been your fault. Maybe I misplaced it. Maybe someone else misplaced it. That easy. Here's another thing, jealousy. And I'm going to be very, very, very upfront with you about this. When I was younger, I was a very jealous person. I don't know how I had any relationship last past 2 weeks. It made me uncomfortable just to be around other men when I had a girlfriend. It made me feel even worse if they had male friends. I'm not sure where that came from. I think it's just being so self-conscious that when I got a girlfriend, I made her my whole world, and I was so afraid and threatened by everyone. And instead of just talking about it, it's always like these half jokes. And I did it with with this past relationship. Let me clarify that. I've gotten a lot better as I'm older. When I say I was younger, I'm talking about like a teenager through like my early 20s. I mean, I probably got over that around the time I was like 22 or something. But it was still kind of there in a way. So what would happen is, in later relationships, and especially this past one, it was in the beginning of it. It was like little half jokes, like your boy so and so is working today, or just little stupid shit like that, which doesn't make them feel good because what you're saying is at the same time you're kind of saying that you don't trust them. And that's not cool. And I didn't really stop and think about how that would make her feel. Because for me to even imply that so-and-so is a threat is to say that I don't trust you. Because that old saying, it takes two to tango. Right? So who gives a shit? This guy could be the most handsome, charming motherfucker on the planet. If I have a problem with him, I have a problem with her. Do you see how that works? Because what's he going to do? Put some kind of magic spell on her? No. When you say that you're concerned or make little half jokes or get all pissed off and yell and scream or flat out accuse somebody, you're saying you don't trust them, your partner. They're not magic. They're not going to wave a wand and make them fall in love with them and then it's all their fault. No, you're accusing them. Even without doing it, you are still accusing them. To make your little half jokes about, dude's working today, it's not fucking funny. Because you're saying that and a little bit of it's coming from truth. You're just too scared. You're being a little pussy. And that's what we are when we do that. We're being little bitch boys. And it's little dick energy to fucking do that. When you love somebody, you love them. If you have a problem, if you're feeling inadequate, you need to talk about it. Oh, it's embarrassing. It's awkward. Fuck yeah, it is. It's hard. But let me tell you what's harder. Losing someone you felt like was the love of your life. That's way harder than being embarrassed for a little bit. I would have embarrassed myself 1,000 times in that sense if I knew that it was going to avoid the pain that I would go through later. I really wish I would have communicated better. I wish she would have communicated better. I wish our communication, the lack of communication in our relationship is what broke it down. After the breakup, like right after, she made this horrible post about me. And it's like, that's bullshit. Nothing about our relationship was like that. So what happened was she took her own assumptions by saying things like, under my thumb. I was in no way possessive or controlling. If she wanted to go somewhere, I wouldn't. Shit, she'd go to her mom's for days at a time, and I'm not like hitting her up. Who's there? What's going? Like none of that type of shit. It was just like, oh, I'm going here or there. Okay. So that either she doesn't know what under his thumb means, or she's using it in a way that's only reflecting her perception of things. If she felt like she couldn't say or do certain things, then that's on her for not communicating with me. Now, that sounds a little abrasive, so let me clarify that. I could have very well made her feel in some way that she couldn't talk about certain things without it making me feel a certain way, right? But when I say that's her problem or that's her issue that she needs to work out, it's because if she's got assumptions, that's all they are. They're just assumptions. I know, and she knows, that on the surface, flat out, I've never been the type to keep someone under my thumb. Anybody I know knows I'm not that type of guy. So we go back to the assumption. To assume that you couldn't do a certain thing or say a certain thing or feel a certain way or express this thing, that all comes from a lack of communication on both of our parts. Because I could have very well, maybe it was those half jokes in the beginning. You know, and then she just kind of holds on to that because she made it a point to tell me that she does not like that has to stop. And it did. So I was very particular about things, and apparently that's a symptom of GAD, generalized anxiety disorder, is to be very particular about things, usually as a safety concern or just being afraid of things falling apart. So I don't think what she was talking about was coming from a jealousy standpoint, like with other men, or I was worried she was going to run around with other men or anything like that, like a controlling thing. Definitely controlling in a sense to where I like things in a specific manner. I like when plans go the right way, or that whole thing happens. Oh, of course that happened. Of course that fucked up. Now the whole rest of the day is going to be fucked up. You know what I mean? It's like a Bill Burr character, but not in a funny way. Like, well, no, we have to be here by this time. What the fuck? Like, come on. Now the whole day is going to be fucked up. So, actually now talking about it and processing it, I don't feel so bad about some of the things she said in that post. Because I see now that it was a lot of assumption that stemmed from lack of communication between the both of us. I know, she knows that she doesn't mean, oh, I'm holding on to her, you're mine, you can't go do this, you can't do that. But I guess that would feel, especially if you're living with someone, you feel like you don't have as much freedom because it's like, well, this thing's got to be a particular way. I don't want the dog in the kitchen because to me, I envision something horrible happening and somebody turning around with a pot of boiling water and there's the dog under your feet and now you're in the hospital. You know, I don't really care for other people being in the kitchen when someone's cooking because kind of the same thing, especially if they haven't worked in kitchens and they don't know how to call behind, or that they're holding something sharp behind you or to the side of you and they're just kind of standing there talking to you, but they grabbed a knife because they're going to cut open a box or some shit. And then you go to turn and now you're in the hospital because you just got stabbed in the belly because somebody was standing there holding a knife without saying they were holding a knife. Sorry, I digress. But yeah, I could be very particular about things. Before my treatment, now I actually feel a lot more laid back. I just kind of let things happen as they will because then I can fix it. Now I have the ability to fix it. I'm not going to sulk on it all day. Or if it can't be fixed, I can let it go now. It can't be fixed. I mean, what are you going to do? Sit here and whine about it and just make yourself miserable all day? Communication was the biggest thing in our relationship that I wish I had done more. You need to communicate, man. Stop with those half jokes. If you're thinking about half jokes or you have feelings like you're concerned about someone that your significant other works with, then that's a you problem. That's something that you need to work out, unless there's probable cause of some kind. But we get these feelings. You know what? That's going to lead me into the next part, and that's trust. Trust is so incredibly important in so many ways. I'm not just talking about, a lot of times when people hear trust in a relationship, they think, infidelity. That you're avoiding infidelity. When trust means trust in everything. Trust that they know what to do in certain situations. Trust that they are there to protect you. Trust that they're going to make the right decisions. And sometimes it is trust in terms of being faithful. This is a little of both, a little trust and communication. I have an issue with Snapchat. I don't really feel entirely comfortable with someone that I'm with using Snapchat because I personally feel like it's just for nefarious purposes, or at least that's why it was created. Why would you need a platform that's going to delete why would they need to be deleted? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And Snapchat is famously known for guys always wanting to get chick Snapchats, so they can get pictures and videos and shit like that. But see, that's my thing. That's something that I need to work with because it bothered me that she used Snapchat to talk with her friends. And it wasn't like you better stop using it sort of thing. I went to her and I told her that it makes me uncomfortable. And when I look back at it now, she did delete it. Well, I was forthright and I told her that it makes me uncomfortable that she uses Snapchat. I had gotten Snapchat because she really likes to use it when we first started dating, and I didn't like it. It actually made me... I literally had it to talk to her. And it made me feel weird. It made me feel like I was being kept like a secret. Or that she was keeping secrets. So when things got very serious, and especially once we were living together, I made it known that I didn't feel comfortable with Snapchat. She did get rid of it. So I wonder if in that post, that's one of the things she was talking about. I wasn't accusing her of doing anything. It was just that I wasn't comfortable with it. And she did delete the app. And I feel like that's something that I should have been more confident in myself and had more trust in her. Because again, that comes down to if I'm worried that guys are going to get her Snapchat or try to do anything with her, then that's accusing her is what it is, because she would have to accept them. She would have to then engage in that activity for it to even get that far. So by making the half jokes or having concerns like that, I'm really wavering that trust factor, you know. But I did communicate, and just so you know, it wasn't one-sided. She didn't really feel comfortable with me having female coworkers numbers in my phone. If there was like a group chat or something, that was different, but she didn't understand why I would need to have their numbers personally in my phone, which actually makes sense. For some people, they could do that, but I get that it made her feel uneasy, especially coworkers that I didn't like, because that I could see how that would be weird. One minute you're kind of talking shit on them, the next minute you have their number in your phone. So I could totally see that, and she communicated that, and I got rid of them. Oh, you know what? It wasn't in my phone. It was social media. It was on social media. She didn't like me having like female coworkers on like Instagram and stuff like that. So yeah, I obliged and said I totally get it. But it was especially female coworkers that I didn't really like, which I had added ahead of time, I believe. But she voiced her concerns. It wasn't half jokes. It wasn't like playfully accusing me of anything. She voiced her concerns, and I got rid of them. So it was kind of like an uneven trade. She wasn't using Snapchat. I didn't have female coworkers on social media. And I think maybe some of that came from her. That's how we started talking. She was a customer in my shop. We ended up being really good friends. I was going through a breakup with my daughter's mom. We were splitting up, which felt like a divorce. It felt like I was divorcing her. She was dealing with the divorce of her parents, so we talked a lot over social media, and I think maybe she had some concerns because that's how we started talking. And actually, you know what? I shouldn't try to read her mind. That's not good. I don't know why, but she had concerns, and we rectified them. So, and another thing, trust. In the trust in terms of trusting that someone has your best interest, that's another thing I had a problem with. I wanted to be in control of the situation. That was really big for me, and again, a huge part of that was GAD. I'm just so worried that somebody else is going to mess it up, which, again, looking back is painful because I could see how that could make someone feel very inadequate or stupid, even that you can't trust them to do a certain thing or trust them to plan something out because they're going to fuck it up. That's a lot to put on somebody, and that's really messed up. So it hurts to look back at stuff like that. So you need to have trust that someone's able to do something. You're not always in control. You don't have to be the captain. They don't have to be your sous chef. Let them take the wheel sometimes. Now, I'm no sort of love guru. I just wanted to talk flat out about some of this stuff, and I want to not have to keep bringing it up every episode or every other episode. I'm not sure if I've literally brought it up every episode. I'm pretty sure that I have, but I don't want to anymore, and this was sort of my way of just kind of venting and purging and getting it out without going too far into detail or making it too sappy. And I wanted it to be in a way that could help others out. And I really hope this was a way to do that. I hope you could take my advice, because my advice is coming from my therapist. So word of mouth sometimes is helpful. But it's caused me a lot of pain not following these things. You just got to open up, man. You just got to talk about things that you don't always want to talk about or that you feel embarrassed to talk about. Even if it's, just communicate, good or bad. Tell them how much you love them. Tell them how awesome they are, how beautiful they are. Let them know. Don't just assume that they know. Why would I be with you if I didn't think that about you? Just let them know. Open up and communicate. You don't really care for the way they cook a certain thing, let them know. Hey, honestly, if you don't have any experience in cooking, then just shut the fuck up and eat it or learn how to cook. But if you do know how to cook and your significant other doesn't, they like to make this thing that you don't like, maybe you could give them some tips. Maybe you could help them. And if they want to get mad or upset or embarrassed, then that's kind of on them, because you're the one that's making the effort to do this thing. I know that you really like to make this. It's something that you're very proud of, but I don't really care for it. Maybe there are some things that we could adjust so that way you could still do it. You could still make it. I know this is your mom's recipe, but now it could be yours. You could make it your own thing. Little things like that. Having different plans. I want to do this, but they want to do that. Compromise. There's got to be a little compromise. And sometimes you just, again, just let go. You know that part in Fight Club when they're driving? It's like, what have you always wanted to do before you die? Paint a self-portrait. Build a house. And they're just driving down the road, and Tyler Durden, Brad Pitt, takes his hands off the wheel, and Edward Norton's just like going bananas. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Come on. And he's like, let go. Let go. Sometimes you just have to do that, man. Just let go. And honestly, it's very liberating. It feels, it's incredibly hard. It's very hard to let go of things. But when you do, it's liberating. It's freeing. And these are things that I wish I would have worked harder on. And I hope that you can use these things as tools for your relationships, be it your current relationship, be it your future relationships. It's very important. Look into these. And again, I'm no fucking guru. I'm no therapist. I can only give you things from my experience. So take what I told you today and go do some research. Look into this stuff on your own. You'll find ways that people can explain it way better than I can. But I promise you they're going to talk about the importance of it, and it's going to make your relationship strong, and you wouldn't expect to ever feel that kind of love. You might love each other right now, but just wait. And I would have done it had I known I was going to lose my favorite person. I would have done wind sprints with these shits. Like, I would have been like, I'd have been working at it like it was fucking off season. And some of y'all know what I'm talking about. That means working really, 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 really fucking hard, so that way when the season comes around, you're ready and you're conditioned, and it just makes things go a lot smoother when you're conditioned. But this is the last time I'm going to say this on this podcast. I miss her, and I love her very much. I hope she's doing very well. And I hope that if she's found someone by now, or if she does in the future, I hope that they communicate better than we did. I hope that their trust in each other is stronger. And I hope that they can utilize these tools that help a relationship stay strong. Because I don't want her to have to go through it again. It was very painful. I know it was very painful for her. I don't want her to have to go through it again. I don't ever want to go through it again, to the point where I don't want to date. I don't like dating sites. I don't want to invest my time into something and then realize that someone's fake. I'm also not ready to date. I'm not ready to get on the dating scene. I'm still having dreams about her. I still miss her a lot. When I find a new band, I really, really, really wish I could share it with her, because that was our huge thing, was music. That was our connector. If you're going through what I'm going through, I feel for you. It has started to get better. There's billions of other people in the world. So there's still someone else out there for you. If you don't want to look right now, don't feel any pressure. I'm lucky enough to where my friends aren't pressuring me to go, hook up with someone. I'm not having anyone try to hook me up, set me up on dates, any of that type of stuff. I just want to chill right now. I'm working on myself. which is what I need to be doing. And I've made a lot of progress, but I can't stop. It's got to keep going. And I hope that this helps you. I hope your relationships with friends and family last a very long time, and I hope that they get stronger and stronger every day. I love my friends. I love my family. Hell, I almost want to say I love you guys for supporting me so much, which is weird because I'm not the type of person to throw it away. You know, a lot of times like coworkers being like, love you. Or like when they're walking out the door, I love you guys. Not me. I don't play that shit. I'm not telling you that I love you if I don't love you. I barely know you. I don't even know your name. I'm not saying I love you. But I really hope all of you continue this feeling of joy and warmth into this next year. If you were alone for the holidays, again, I feel you. I've been there a lot. Don't feel bad. It won't be that way forever. I hope you were able to make it special in some way, and don't let that magic go away. Try to keep that magic of the season in you. You don't have to be religious. You don't have to believe in Santa Claus. You don't have to celebrate Yule, but you should just recognize that it's the one time of year where that one asshole at the bar will not get in a fight because somebody's like, it's Christmas, John, you know? Or like his wife, down, it's Christmas. Don't act this way on Christmas. And they won't. And they'll stuff it down and they'll deal with it. It's the one fucking time of year where people will actually do that shit. People are letting you pass in traffic. People are letting you get, of course there's still those dickheads. They're just always going to be that way. But you just notice the little things. This time of year is magic. Whether you believe in it or not, it is. And I'm using magic very loosely. I know I don't really believe in magic, but there's something about this time of year that brings people together and keeps people warm. And I love it. No matter how you celebrate it, I love this time of year. And I'm so grateful to have been a part of so many things this year. I was barely home at all for like 3 days. It felt like, probably more. But it was great. Hey, thank you so much for listening. If you haven't, like us, rate us and leave a review if you don't mind. That'd be really cool to get some feedback. And be honest. That's cool. I'm not going to get hurt. But yeah, some reviews and some ratings would go awesome. If you'd like to support the show, you can subscribe. Make sure you like and follow us on YouTube as well and subscribe, because that does not go into this same algorithm. We're working really hard on getting to video. So if you have like YouTube music or something, you could just throw that on, or while you're cleaning, you can just throw the podcast on in the background. It'll just show my logo. It's a nice, pleasant logo while you're doing your thing. But I really appreciate it. Hey, if you just want to tune in and listen, you don't want to do the extra stuff, you don't want to rate, you don't want to review, you don't want to like and subscribe, hey man, that's cool. I appreciate you just chilling with me, listening to what I have to say, hearing my story. We will be back with episode 9 very soon. I almost don't want to end this, but I feel like I've reached the end of what I want to say. So, hey, thank you so much again for all of your support. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you on the next one.